This is J. Krishnamurti's second discussion with teachers in Saanen, 1967.
I believe we are going to talk over the educational problems and about education, isn't it? Right? May I set the ball rolling? First of all, why do we get educated at all? What is the point of going through school, college, university, a degree as a doctor, scientist, businessman, journalist, professor, and so on? Apart from reading and writing, what is the purpose of education? You send your children to school, college, university, and he ends up with a job or with something which he doesn't like, married, children, has to earn a livelihood, and the society offers him a livelihood only if he is a specialist of some kind or another. And the rest are dropouts, go into the army or become factory workers and so on, so on. So, shouldn't we ask ourselves, what is the purpose of education as it is? Why are you educated? You have a college degree probably, if you have one. Why? Why have you been to school, college, university? And what do we mean by that word education? I know the root meaning of that word, but as it is generally accepted in the world, what does it all mean? I wish we could discuss this, not let me go on talking. Is that why you are educated? No, madam, just, I mean, what is the purpose of education?
To fulfill my demands in life. To say that all my pleasures are satisfied.
To earn a livelihood? To have enough money? To have a house, home, family, children? Is that why you are educated? And to support that family? Make people independent? Does it? Yes, but I mean, yes, power, more prestige, better car, bathrooms, and more clothes, or whatever it is. Is that why we are educated? Is that what we mean by education?
By education, you mean instruction or something else?
I don't know what we mean. We're going to inquire. We're going to find out what actually it is. Actually, not as we like it to be, but actually what it is.
To learn how to live in that world.
To live. Huh?
To learn how to live in the world. To learn
Oh
how to
my,
live in the world.
is that what you are educated for? To live? How to learn? To learn to live in this world? To kill? To, you know what the world is? In a society which is competitive, ruthless,
To know the roots of society.
to know the roots of. Does education.
The rules.
The rules of society. What are the rules of society? How to? How to behave in a certain situation. Is that why we are educated? No, sir. So let us examine, please, what actually it is. What is actually the present modern education, whether it's in Russia, America, in whatever it is. What is it?
The main thing is that they put all kind of technical knowledge into your mind, and they think that is enough when you know things about mathematics and science and so on.
They want, so look, society demands certain human beings who are specialized as engineers, scientists, army, business, and so on and on and on. They want professionals, whether in the factory, in an office, and so on. And according to the social demands of the society, the education conforms. Right? And we, the human beings, are trained like monkeys to fit into this pattern. And the training begins almost at 4 months. I don't know if you have been reading something about it. It is getting more and more specialized, more and more complex, and the human being doesn't hardly count at all. Right? That is actually what the present state is. Isn't it? I may be crudely making it very simple, but in that very simplicity and crudeness, one sees actually what is going on. If you have a degree, you can get a better job. If you have no degrees, then you become a laborer, factory worker, or whatever it is, a business worker, and so on. So, degrees gives one the means of acquiring more money, prestige, position, and so on. And to that, the all education is geared. Right? I don't think anybody questions this. Then what? And that society has produced wars. That society is violent. That society of which we are a part, we are violent, peaceful occasionally, when it suits us, and so on. So is this the end of education? The Arabs are educated to be Arabs. The Israelites are nationalistic and they are going to be Israelites. The communists are going to be communists, and so on. And the Catholics. Is that the end of education? No, sir, but we are, I know, but actually what is taking place? Conformity to the pattern. And the more you conform, the better it is. Of course, the better it is for the man who conforms. And there are all the dropouts, the hippies, and so on, so on, so on. Is that the end of education? No, sir, this is an educational meeting only for the educators. Huh? Appunto. Seeing what it is, and if the parents are satisfied with this conformity to the social pattern, there is no problem, right? They will send their children to war, they will send and cheer them, and very proud of them when they get whatever they get, and so on, and cry their hearts out for a while because their sons are killed. And we keep this pattern going by feeding it all the time, this machinery. If one is satisfied with that, then we say that's the normal way of life. That's the accepted way of life, living. Do I or you want your children educated differently? That is, not to conform to society. And how will they, if they are educated not to conform to the pattern of society, how will they earn a livelihood? Right? So, livelihood, earning sufficient money to live in this world seems to be the purpose of education. That is, the parent who says, I don't want my children to become a cog in this vast machine which is called society, but if my children don't fit into society, how will they live? How will they have a job? So that is the primary concern of every parent throughout the world. No? What do you say, sirs? Whether they fit into the society and therefore earn a livelihood in a certain pattern which is of a society, those parents also say they must have money to live. And also those parents who do not want their children merely to conform into the pattern of society, they also say they must have a livelihood, which is money. Right? So apparently the whole purpose of education as it is to earn a livelihood. Right? I am not inventing this. This is the actual state of affairs. Do we accept this state of affairs? Do we see it as it is? If we see it as it is, then we can begin to ask, what is the purpose of right education? You understand?
I want to earn a livelihood, yet live in harmony with my surroundings.
I want to earn a livelihood and yet live in harmony with my surroundings, with my society. Can that be done?
That's conformity in society. Then you live in harmony with it.
Huh?
When you conform to the...
Of course, when you conform with the society, then you live in harmony with society. But if you don't, can you have harmony with society? Oh, so come, this is just... Of course. So let's begin again. What is the purpose of education then? The utterly uneducated people, the illiterate people throughout the world, they are just like you and me. Only they may not be able to read and write and cleverly discuss about the various books and plays and all the rest of it. But actually they are, like you and me, greedy, envious, ambitious, violent, all the rest of it. No? And so, what's the difference between the so-called educated man and the most primitive man? Oh my Lord. What's that?
It's merely a matter that he has acquired more knowledge and perhaps he's using his intellect more, but I don't see that that makes any basic difference.
The educated man has more knowledge and the primitive man has not. But the question says he doesn't see any difference between the two. So how do we discuss this educational meeting or conference or whatever it's called?
Like people sometimes learning how to live, how to get money. They learn the people, get a little knowledge of how to behave, how to be less greedy and less, little more moral.
Has education helped man to be less greedy, less violent?
Sometimes
Sometimes, agree.
there are matters which learn, which teaching, but we must understand in history and in other
Let us take a classical example, which is there have been wars for the last 5,000 years. And during those 5,000 years, there have been nearly 15,000 wars. That means 2.5 wars every year. Huh?
That's what I mean. When I go down, I learn how not to fall down.
That is, during these 5,000 years with 15,000 wars, we have learned not to kill, have we?
But the less people was falling.
Beg your pardon?
More and more people get culture now.
I see, more and more people are getting culture now. And so wars have stopped, have they? So you will gradually, eventually, in about another whatever time it is, man will learn not to kill each other. Is that it? That is the purpose of education. In the meantime, kill as many people as you can.
Education is wrong, but something in it has helped man.
So what shall we discuss then? In a so-called educational gathering, what? Can't hear.
Most of us are here because we want to create a different kind of education.
Most of us are here because we want to bring about a different kind of education. Shall we discuss that? Is that really what you are interested in? To help to bring about a school where a different kind of human being comes about. Is that what you want to discuss? Please, let us talk about it. Don't wait for me to talk. Let us see. Is this really what we want to do? To help to bring about a school in which a different kind of, in which a human being can flower, right? What do you say, sirs? All right, let's go into it. A school in which there are children who are already being conditioned. They are French, English, German, Dutch, or whatever they are. And they have been conditioned. Is it possible to uncondition them and not bring about another form of conditioning? Wait, sir. Is that first possible? First, to help or educate them to uncondition themselves. Not to be a Frenchman, not to be a German, not to be a Catholic, not to be linguistically bound to one particular country, and so on, so on, so on. Is that possible? Huh?
If it's done in the very pattern we have been educated in, it's impossible. It will bring about a new condition.
It is impossible for the teacher who is himself conditioned, for the educator who himself is molded, to help the student to uncondition himself. Right? That's the question. Then, till the educator unconditions himself, which might take many generations, there is no hope of creating a new school, new kind of education, right? Is that what you all think?
Is it not possible for teacher and pupil uncondition themselves?
That's right. So is it not possible for the educator, knowing that he is conditioned, knowing that the child is also conditioned, to help the student as well as himself to uncondition himself as he is teaching? Huh? No? I don't know. So, if you say, until the educator is unconditioned, it is not possible to help the student to uncondition himself, then that question has no, it is an answer in itself. But if you say, is it possible for the educator who is himself conditioned to help the student to uncondition himself in the very act of teaching, in the very act of giving him information, knowledge? I don't know if you're... Is this question clear? Huh?
It's a fundamental question. You can dedicate much time and attention.
It is a fundamental question. We are doing that. I am conditioned. I am a school teacher in the new school, and I don't say I must wait till I uncondition myself. That would be impossible. But I say to myself, is it possible for me, who am conditioned, and the child who is also conditioned, is it possible in the very transmitting of information, knowledge, to uncondition both the student and myself? Right? Can we discuss that?
There is a problem here in being skeptical or being inquisitive. There can be a lack of security or apparent security. When can a child be without something to hold on?
The children do need security. That's the problem the questioner says. I think we'll come to that, sir, presently. Because the school should be the home. Because he spends most of his time there. And there is his security, there is his, because it is his home, he feels he has complete confidence in the teacher. And the teacher's relationship to the student must be so entirely different that the student feels in this teacher or in this group of teachers, I have complete confidence, which doesn't generally exist at home. But that's a later question we can just come to. Now, is it possible for the teacher who himself is conditioned to help the student who is also conditioned? Is it possible in his relationship with the student to bring about or help to bring about unconditioning, to uncondition himself and the student? Is that possible?
It seems to me that to answer such a question, we first have to see in what way we do conform and whether we are ready not to conform any longer.
Yes. The questioner says we must be conscious that we are conditioned, in what way we are conditioned, and so on.
Whether we are ready to break.
Whether we are ready to break that conditioning. Beg pardon?
Teaching is at the same time learning.
Teaching is at the same time learning. Now, can we go into this question step by step? That is, I am conditioned as a teacher. And I also know the student is conditioned. And also I know students, boys and girls, want to conform. The whole Hitlerian youth movement, the communist youth movement, the Mussolini youth movement, everybody wants to conform, especially when one is young. The immature, whether they are old or very young, want to conform. So I know all this. Now, how can I help the student to uncondition himself and at the same time uncondition myself? Which is, I want to uncondition myself, naturally, because I want to teach in this school to bring about a different human being, if it's possible. There is no guarantee, but we want to try. Now, how is this to be done?
I think first the student has to see the fallacy of conditioning before he can be unconditioned.
No. The student has to see the fallacy of conditioning. But the student is too young. He doesn't know a thing about all these big, complicated problems of conditioning, how it has been brought into being and so on. The older person who is the teacher might see it. The question is, how is it possible?
You can discuss with the child during the interaction between teacher and child. You can discuss what happens in that very moment.
That is, sir, is it not possible when you are teaching history, I'm taking that as an example, to show him the whole pattern of nationality, division, racial differences, the desire to conquer a race, and so on? Is it not possible through teaching history to discover my own conditioning? And as I teach, I discover my conditioning. As a Dutchman or as a Hindu or whatever it is, as a Catholic. And take that, become aware of that conditioning in myself and discuss it with them. Sharpen their mind. Make them sensitive to the question. Make them question you, argue, discuss. So that in teaching you are yourself becoming aware of your conditioning, and therefore you are open to reveal your conditioning. I don't know if you are following all this.
But sir, for doing something like that, I think one of the most important conditions of dualism between the teacher and the pupil is that the teacher is standing there as somebody who knows it, and the pupil is somebody who has just to listen and things like that. So
You are saying one has to establish right relationship between the teacher and the pupil, student. What is the right relationship? I have to teach that boy who is looking out of the window, who doesn't care two pins, I have to teach him something. And I have to establish a right relationship between myself and the student. He is not going to establish with me. I have to establish it. Right? Now, how is that to be established? First of all, I must cease to be a teacher. Right? I must first cease to be the proud teacher who knows everything about everything in life. Right? That means I do not assume the mantle of a teacher who dictates or has authority with the child. So if I really feel that, I've established already a different relationship with the child. Now, are we capable of doing this?
When you are aware at the very moment that you are doing that you are teaching like a teacher as they are now, then when you are aware at that very moment, then
So, it is possible to establish a right relationship between the educator and the student when the educator himself steps down from the platform. So, one can find that it is possible for the educator to uncondition himself as he is teaching. that is possible. Right? It is not impossible. And in that very process, we are establishing a different relationship with the student. Which means I am really interested, I am dedicated to the proposition that I want to build a school in which this can happen. Right? Comment? Ne pas honteux.
Pour établir une relation entre le maître et l'élève, est-ce qu'il n'est pas nécessaire que le maître et l'élève vivent complètement
Oh,
ensemble?
wait, that comes little later. First, see that comes naturally when you have a boarding house, when there is residential school, when a teacher has about 12 students or less, and so on and on and on.
So, when you talk about that relation between pupil and student and teacher, another thing comes to be, I think, most pupils don't know at all why they have to be at school. So I think first
Why do they have?
Most pupils don't know why they have to be at school.
so I think it's right, you know.
Most people don't know why they have to be at school.
Most pupils don't.
Most pupils. And then we'll help them to understand that. I mean, that's secondary issue. You see, we are discussing a primary issue, which is both the educator and the one to be educated. Is it possible for both of them living together in a school, teaching, playing, and all the rest of it, in that environment, to bring about, to help to uncondition oneself and the student? That is the primary issue. Which means the teacher must be extraordinarily intelligent. Right? Or not extraordinarily intelligent in the sense learned, book knowledge, specialized intelligence, but intelligence in the sense he has to be very sensitive, he has to watch himself, he has to be aware of his words. Just, you follow? And are there such teachers? Who will give their life to this, not just say, well, I have nothing to do for the next 2 years and I might just well go into that school, waiting for a better job. If one undertakes this, one has to undertake it with complete knowledge what is involved and go to the very end of it. Create the school. Not for somebody else to create it and I fit into it. No, not that we first need. Am I an educator interested in this thing. And therefore I'm going to devote my life to it. Doesn't matter what the difficulties are, what you follow, create the thing. Not only does the educator need education in the right sense, but also the student needs it. And do we, some of us here, do we want to start such a school? And are we prepared, not verbally, not enthusiastically, not momentarily carried away, but are we prepared to dedicate our life to that? After all, you dedicate your life when you go into an office. For the next 40 years, you're booked, hooked. Apparently, that you don't mind being hooked. And it seems that it's very difficult to find such teachers or such human beings who will say, oh, I'm interested, I'm going to build this thing. You know, most of us feel that we can only work, dedicate to something when the environment conditions are right. The conditions and environment are never right. Right? And so, we have to not only battle with the environment, but create it. Create a different school. What do you mean by creating a different kind of school? Now, shall we go into that in detail? First, the school is the home, both for the teacher as well as for the student. It's a home. That means they both feel completely secure, physically. Not cast envious eyes at people who have more. Right, so it is their home. They are married to the school. Though they may have wives and children, they are married to that. Therefore, they give security to the student as well as to themselves. That's the first thing I would insist on. Then, establishing right relationship between the student and the teacher. Right? which is right relationship being that the teacher, the educator as well as the student are helping themselves to uncondition themselves. And therefore, right relationship between them, in which the teacher is not the superior entity because he happens to have some information, but he is a human being in relation with another human being. And that relationship is based on not authority, right? Then the second thing, or third, whatever it is, then how does one teach history, mathematics, whatever it is, and help the student to be extraordinarily intelligent in the learning of that subject, not merely the subject. I don't know if you... To make this, to bring about high quality of intelligence in the student is possible, it seems to me, through discussion, through exchange of ideas, through questioning. And he can only question, argue, discuss if he is completely at home with you, and therefore no fear. And that can only be when the student is not compared with another student. Because when A is compared with B, who is superior, then you are destroying B. And if you say he is better student than B, then you are giving him marks and telling him to compete with B. Therefore, one has to find a way of helping the student not to compete but yet be first class as a subject. I don't know if you're following all this, are you?
So you say the only thing is that the criteria is that I understand the subject or not, and not if I am better than the...
Yes, that's right. And that involves not reporting to the parents. Right? Because the parents are interested in what class, what degree, marks are getting, whether they're going to pass exams. So you keep a record, secret record of the student without telling anybody, except among the staff. I don't know if you're... May or may not. We'll discuss. You'll find a way.
Did you say that you should keep a record or not to keep it?
Oh yes, of course. One has to keep a record. You can't keep 12 students or 100 students without. You follow what I mean? One has to keep a record, but you don't show it to the student. You discuss it among the staff, and you may not show it to their father, parents, but say that they're doing quite well. When the student doesn't go quite well, say he's not doing so badly.
What kind of a record is this?
Oh, what kind of record should you keep? That's very simple.
No, it's not simple because if you're going to classify people and say,
No, we're not going to classify. We're going to do this. My Lord, must I think it all out for you? I'm a teacher responsible for 12 students in history, right? In teaching history, I'm not only unconditioning myself, but also helping the student to uncondition himself through dialogue, through exchange, through criticism, through analysis. Right, sir? And I watch every student, how they respond, their intelligence.
Is that what makes a child more human?
What, sir?
Is that what makes a child more human?
Is that what makes a child more human?
Will that make the child more human? Not yet. We are helping him to be a little more human because we are helping him not to compete.
I mean, you're unlearning.
Huh?
You're not teaching him. You're unlearning.
Yes, not only unlearning but also teaching at the same time.
And teaching.
Of course.
Are you trying to make him, I mean, is he already a human being?
Not yet, sir, because he is still a student like me. We have got all our depressions, angers. It's an educational process.
Would you talk about that process?
Wait, sir, I'm doing it.
The process of becoming, if there is such a
We discussed it yesterday during all the 10 talks.
I mean in the school.
In the school, we are doing it now.
You were doing it in class.
We are doing it now. So, first we make the student feel completely at home. Keep to the point, madam, otherwise we go off different time.
when the teachers have the records of the people behind the pupils' back, I don't see how the people can be authorities.
Oh, no, it's not at back. Otherwise, oh, for God's sake. Look, I have to know what this... I must go step by step, shall we? Otherwise, we'll get lost. First, both for the teacher and for the student, the school, the campus is their home. Right? Which is a very difficult thing to bring about. Which means the teacher himself feels that it is his home. That he is not waiting to get a better job. Right? Therefore, you have already established with the student a different relationship. Then, second point is how to teach. Right? In that very teaching, we are helping each other to uncondition ourselves through discussion, through questioning, through arguing, through being obstinate, not accepting what you say, so that there is a constant sharpening of the brain.
Critical in the right sense.
Critical in the right, that's right. Help him to be critical. Help him to question everything. His parents, his society, the teacher, the food, the whole... It must be a climate in which the student is as active as the teacher. And now, there is no comparison between A and B. Right? Because when you compare A with B, you are destroying B. A. Huh?
Both.
No. The B is much cleverer, much ahead. But if you compare A with B, B gets more flattered, more competitive, and that way perhaps you are destroying him, and also you certainly are destroying A. So there is no comparison. And yet you have to keep an eye on A as well as B, how they are studying, what they are doing. Which means you have to have some kind of record. We're not doing it behind the back, the student's back. You are watching him. You are telling him. So it all depends how you do it and with what motive you do it, what language you use when telling this to you, and so on. All that is involved in this. Which means that the teacher himself has to be extraordinarily alive, and when the staff meets, discuss this whole problem. Huh? Then
what happens when A discovers for himself that B is quicker at some situation?
yes, what happens when A discovers B is much quicker in certain situations? What happens? If he discovers, I would tell him, don't compete. Don't become like A, like B. He's sharper, obviously. But the moment you compete with him, you are destroying yourself, and therefore you are becoming duller. You are becoming more dull. So all that's implied in teaching. And every teacher must have the same quality, same intention. You follow, sir? If you have that intention, not to compare A with B, and I teach him in another subject, and I compare A with B, so then the two teachers will be in contradiction, and therefore put the student in a sense insecure. Give insecurity to the student, right? So the staff, the teachers must understand this thing completely, right? Right. That is the whole curriculum, all that is involved in it. And also, perhaps in this way one can discover the native talent of each student. You understand, sir? I may want to be a gardener. Or I may want to be a poet, or whatever it is. Not force all the students to a particular channel, and so on. Can this be done? Which means a number of teachers who mean what they say, who are dedicated, to whom this is as important as earning a livelihood in a beastly little shop or in an office. I'm sorry it's so hot. There it is. That means There is no authority. You follow the implications of all that, sir? That is, in a school, there must be some kind of discipline, mustn't there?
What time the school begins?
Begins, what time the meals are, what time the bed. There must be some kind of discipline, right? Now, how are you going to bring about this discipline without authority?
I must understand that it's necessary to have discipline.
I must understand it is necessary to have discipline. The teacher perhaps understands. The boy or the student is up a tree playing. And it is lunchtime, 1 o'clock. He has forgotten the hour and he wants to go on playing. Right? How are you going to help him to be punctual without compulsion? Right, sir? And without authority. What is punctuality? Why should one be punctual?
Because you don't live alone in this
Which means what? You don't live alone, the question is said. That means one is punctual out of courtesy, out of kindliness, out of affection. I don't want to come 10 minutes late to the meeting, keep you all waiting. So can I, as a teacher, help the student to be courteous, to be considerate? And out of that consideration will come punctuality. And therefore, punctuality, be on time, is a secondary importance. You follow, sir? And it comes naturally if both the student and the teacher have this sense of consideration. My Lord. Are you interested in all this? So, how is the educator to help to bring about this sense of consideration?
The boy is still up the tree, sir, is he?
What, sir?
The boy is still up the tree.
The boy is still up the tree.
The boy is still up the tree, yes.
You leave him there without any lunch.
Before he is climbed the tree and is up there, he must have had that kind of consideration that will prompt him to look at his watch.
First time.
Not the first time.
If you're even questioning consideration,
What, sir?
you're even questioning how to be considerate.
Of course.
You're teaching how to be considerate. She's not human already.
Of course. But I have to help him to be considerate. I have helped him to be considerate. Look, sir, just look. You come here on time to this meeting. I come 20 minutes late. Obviously, there's something wrong. Now, how am I to convey to the student without authority, without punishment? You follow, sir? Without saying, look, you are late, for God's sake be punctual. How am I to convey all this to the student?
But one boy only. I should keep the other boys in meeting.
I can't do it. No boy is going to wait for another boy when he's hungry.
Or you will jump the meal.
No, that's a punishment. Let's find out, no, madam, let's find out if it is possible to help the student and ourselves to have this sense of consideration, of punctuality. You follow all that.
Don't we have first to help the small child before he even gets to school? To be considerate.
Yes, sir, but that depends at what age you are taking this boy comes to the school. Huh?
Can we discuss the age to begin school at another time?
At another time, I think so too.
So we've been talking about the right relationship between pupil and teacher. So if there is a relation of, let's say, non-authority, you be as you are.
No, you can't be as you are. As a student, you're a monkey.
I know, but I mean, I'm looking at it from the point of view of the person who's teaching.
Probably he's glorified monkey too. I said, please, I'm just starting, begin. How am I, put the question, how am I as a teacher, without compulsion, without punishment, without a threat, help the student to be courteous, to have consideration for others, which is human.
Unless there is this in me, I will never be able to help the student find it in him.
So yours.
The child must feel that he is part of a group.
And no, why should he be part of the monkeys? No, sir, find out how this is to be done without punishment, without reward, without condemning him, to help him to be punctual, to be disciplined. Put it into your, think it out, feel it out.
I would talk with your child and maybe ask him to go and help you. So they see it.
Discuss it.
I have the punctuality. I feel I must be there on time. I am there on time. The child is not. He doesn't care. He's up the tree. And no, madam, before you answer me, you are the teacher. I know you're not the teacher. That's why we'll answer very quickly. If you are the teacher, how will you deal with this? But the student is not sufficiently interested in the school. No, you see, you are supposing, here are a group of children. Please listen to this. Group of children. They have no idea of consideration. They have known only punishment at home, or say you can't have, you're 10 minutes late, therefore you can't have the first dish, fear, threat, and all the rest of it. How are you going to help those students without fear, without threat, and all the rest of it, to make them considerate? But how are you going to help the student to be considerate? Tell me that, please. Actually, not theoretical. Huh? The teacher also climbs the tree. Probably the teacher is too old. They say, this is extraordinary.
So, is it not possible for the boy sometimes to cook a lunch and feel the other other side.
Of course.
So that you as
No, I understand all that, but think out, sir, you think out what you will do with a group of boys who don't know anything about punctuality except through threat, through domination, fear, and all the rest of it. How are you going to help them to be considerate, to be punctual, so without all this, without punishment, all that?
Is there not a difference between taking consequence and punishment?
Hein? Comment? Dites en français ou italiano. German.
Ist da nicht ein Unterschied zwischen Bestrafung und das Kind die Konsequenz erleben lassen?
Is there no difference between punishment and showing the child the consequences of his actions?
Is there no difference between punishment and showing the child the consequences of not being punctual? And the child will translate not being punctual and the consequence of not being punctual as fear. Oh my Lord, haven't you children?
In the case of lunch, the child's on the table for lunch, you could go out and ask them, are you hungry?
Yes, sir, but sir, look, he's hungry, he's up the tree, he goes on playing, and he doesn't mind being 10 minutes late. You follow? He'll slip in, and the mother catches him and punishes him. You follow? All that. He's used to all that. Now he comes to the school, here there is no punishment. Here there is no authority to say must not. Now, please think it out, sir, feel it out. Not supposedly. Here are a group of boys. How will you deal with it?
When it comes later, to wait for him as a do nothing. When he comes down, when he's hungry, to show him that the other people is waited, other people is not waiting, that
So, madam, wouldn't you, when the first day they come to the school, first day, talk to him about all these things, wouldn't you? Explain to him, look here, old boys, there is no punishment here. There is no reward, there is no fear. But we all have to be punctual because of the meal, of the cook, you follow? Talk to him. Right? Wouldn't you?
Well, I thought it was that I had already explained.
Yes, I already explained to him. I talked to him. The first day, not the third, fourth, fifth day. The first day I meet him. I said, we meet in the room and I explain everything what the school stands for. That is their home. That is, here there is no punishment, no comparison. I would go into it very deeply, very affectionately, because I feel that myself. So I would talk to him. And when he is unpunctual, first day, second day, I say, forget it. Forget it. Not show it. Wait. When he repeats it the third time, I talk to him again. That means I must have tremendous patience. And it's my job to have patience. So because it's my home and his home. If he's late for the meal, it upsets the whole school. The cook gets angry. So I have to find a way of making that boy punctual, considerate. I will. Without punishment, without any reward. I'm going to find it. Because I'm interested. You follow? To me, it's very important to bring up a child without any sense of fear.
It needs not a perspective from the child, but from yourself.
Huh?
It means not a perspective from the child, be so and so and so, but a perspective from yourself.
I begin because I feel that. So, I am helping him to discipline himself, not to conform, but out of freedom. Right? Because I really feel it's only when when a human being is free inwardly, he disciplines himself. Naturally. But if I discipline myself through punishment, it's not discipline at all. Or reward and all the rest of it. So, in the class, I help the student without comparison to discuss, to argue, to question with me. And all the other teachers must do the same, otherwise it won't work. Then a discipline is necessary. Obviously, with 100 boys, each person can't do what he likes. It will be chaos. They tried that, both in England and also in India. And it doesn't work. But you must have discipline. But is it possible to cultivate this discipline without any sense of fear, without any sense of reward or encouragement? You follow, sir? So that the very intelligence which you are cultivating in the class operates with regard to his food, clothes, and all the rest of it. Then another problem is, children, I haven't got any child, but you have, I watched them. Children are very talkative and very imitative, and sometimes quite cruel. How are you going to help them not to be imitative, not to be cruel, not to be incessantly chattering? How are you going to help them to the beauty of solitude? That's one of the problems. Huh?
I think one thing is they have to have an opportunity to be in solitude. Very often they never are. They're almost hunted around.
Yes, you give them an hour, 2 hours, or ask them to go for a walk, they all go together in herds. They like to be in herds. Or they go with their particular friend up the hill. How are you going to do all this? Otherwise it won't be a different school. To prevent, help them not to talk incessantly, not to be cruel, to find, to walk by themselves, without neurosis. You follow? That's why I said, see the beauty in solitude. How are you going to bring this about? Probably you've never even thought about it. But that's one of the problems.
Actually, to deal with them, each one, they've got people that
no. That's appalling.
Well, it's something amusing.
No. That doesn't make them stop chattering. You see, you are forcing them. You are inviting them to be not to talk. You are subtly making them conform to not talking. I would cut out all that. I want to find a way that they themselves will naturally, easily, happily stop talking, chattering. Stop being cruel and go out for a walk, because they love to go out and walk by themselves. That's the train that tells you it's 12 o'clock. Shall we continue tomorrow with this? Huh? Right.